We got fighter, 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 shooter, 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 shooter. People who know what the hell they're doing. This guy Davakado, I don't think he knows what the hell he's doing. But he's big and strong, he's intimidating, and it looks good. This looks good. It's time, once again, for your favorite pro wrestling opinion show, Jags Jabs. I am Jefferson Alonzo Greene, and let's jump right into it. I finally, after God knows how long, actually, I know how long, I watched Raw for the first time in a long time. As a matter of fact, let me be honest, I didn't watch Raw. I fast forwarded through most of Raw because it has been trash. 100% pure unadulterated trash. As a matter of fact, when I logged on to my freaking DVR to find the latest episode of Raw, it said 8 episodes unwatched. I have not watched Raw in 2 months, people, because it's not that good. Now, part of it is because there are no freaking crowds. There's, the fans, no fans, but just in general, the show's been largely predictable. Of course, as you're scrolling through, as you're fast forwarding through, you see how much talking there is on Raw. It's just talk, 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 talk. We got a talking segment with Kevin Steen. We got a backstage talking segment with Kevin Steen and Ric Flair. Or Kevin Owens. We got another backstage segment with Nia Jax. Then she's in the ring. It's so much talking. Drew McIntyre and freaking Randy Orton talking. MVP, at least he wrestled. But when he was done wrestling, guess what he's doing again in the back? He's talking. Freaking Zelina Vega and all those guys. Talking. Son of a biscuit. Can we get some freaking wrestling? I will give AEW credit. There's a lot of wrestling in that show. Most of it sucks, but at least they're freaking wrestling. So let's get to what this jab is about in the first place. I wanted to see what you wanted to see, and what a lot of people have been asking me about is Raw Underground. Raw Underground is this, kind of a no-rope ring fighting, underground fighting, kind of martial arts style sort of thing. And I have a few thoughts. I have some impressions that I want to share because a few of you have been asking me, what do I think? Of course, OC Steve is like, yo, man, you got to do a jab about Raw Underground because, of course, I've got a background in martial arts and boxing. So anything with some fighting, some MMA, whatever, I tend to have a lot of opinions about. And so let me tell you what I think. Are you ready? Let's do this. Boom. First impressions, the dancing girls? We're doing dancing girls now? Look, people, this is 2020, and most companies are trying to be as progressive as possible. And even though I don't mind seeing pretty girls dancing, I don't know if that's the best idea or the best move. Now, this is the 3rd hour of Raw, which is ridiculous that it's 3 hours long, and technically it comes on after 10 p.m., so it can be a little more geared toward mature audiences. But do we want to see dancing girls in 2020? I'm not sure, but at the very least, we cannot let these girls, these dancing girls, be wrestlers, be talent, whether they're undebuted or talent hasn't debuted yet or underutilized wrestlers, whatever. They cannot be wrestlers because you can't go from dancing go-go girl to wrestling. Now, one of you clowns, possibly the encyclopedia himself, will start typing and looking up some girl who was a member of the Ho Train. Remember that? The Godfather had the Hoes? Or somebody that was part of, what's his name's Conga line that became NXT champion, whatever. I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule, but if you've been a hoe, whether the Godfather's hoe or a dancing girl in Raw Underground, I'm going to have a hard time seeing you as anything but. Is that just me? Maybe, maybe not, but I didn't like the dancing girls. I think the show and the segment would have been fine without them. All right, point number 2. This guy, Davakado, first of all, that's a weird freaking name, but Davakado is a Polish professional wrestler, former pro football player named Babatunde something or other. I can't really pronounce his name, but I've heard a little bit about him. I've done a little bit of research. The guy is big and strong. I love his hair. I love the dreads. And I think that's a cool look. He doesn't move as like a fighter. He's big and strong and intimidating, but he doesn't move like a fighter. And I'm going to come back to that here in a minute. Actually, let's talk about it right now. The reason why I'm concerned with how he moves is because this underground, no rope fight ring reeks of MMA. It reeks of shoot fighting, of cage fighting, of underground fighting. So if you're going to use these guys in these segments, they should be guys who know submissions and work submissions and have really good striking so it really sells and makes it believable. Let me explain what I mean. If you're watching this show and you see someone like MVP who trains Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and he puts someone in a triangle or a Kimura or he does something cool that looks like he knows what the hell he's doing, That's credibility, and credibility goes a long way in this freaking business. Bobby Lashley, that dude is as credible as they come. He's a freaking former, was the champion in Bellator? The guy has like 26 professional MMA fights. He's completely legit. Plus, he's built like a freaking monster. The guy looks like he's carved out of granite. Shelton Benjamin, former NCAA wrestling champion. Brilliant use of him. And then you got Dolph Ziggler, which a lot of people don't know. I know Shane talked about it in the show. He comes from Kent State. He has a great wrestling background, and that's how he was able to do some stuff there and beat up on my boy Jake Atlas. If you didn't see that, yes, that was Jake Atlas getting tapped out or getting submitted by Dolph Ziggler. But this could be the saving grace for Dolph Ziggler, because Dolph Ziggler has been so underutilized over the years, but the guy knows how to wrestle. And if he was able to build a winning streak or a reputation down here in the basement in the underground, that could be the shot in the arm or the bit of gasoline on the fire to help Dolph Ziggler launch to the freaking stratosphere. But look, we got fighter, shooter, people who know what the hell they're doing. This guy Davakado, I don't think he knows what the hell he's doing. But he's big and strong, he's intimidating, and it looks good. This looks good. I looked at the viewers, the ratings popped up just a little bit. It was actually a 5-week high with Shane McMahon and this Raw Underground stuff, so that helped a little bit. It's still tragically low compared to previous years, but hey, this helped. People didn't mind it. They wanted to see it. They wanted to see the fight, and it looked kind of cool, except what are the rules? I'm looking at Shane calling it off. Okay, he's had enough. Okay, that's enough. He's done. How do we know who wins and who loses? If this is going to be a recurring segment, don't we need to know the rules? Don't we need to know how someone is going to win? He says there are no rules, but then you just decide when somebody's done? I've seen guys come back with some gnarly stuff in the octagon. And if Shane's calling it after a couple of knees, I don't know if that's going to go over too well. I think there has to be some kind of structure, some kind of idea, wins and losses and who's kicking butt. Maybe there's a champion down there. Hell, I wouldn't mind seeing an underground championship. That might be actually kind of cool, almost like a hardcore championship. That might be kind of cool. But ever since this Raw Underground thing debuted, a lot of people have been complaining that it's a ripoff of something else. I saw a long thread on Twitter where somebody was complaining that this is a complete and utter ripoff of his work or something that he had created in Chikara. I don't know Chikara from Chewbacca, so I don't know what the hell this guy is talking about. However, what I do know and what I have seen and where I have been are shows like Suburban Fights. OC Steve said this is the ripoff of Suburban Fights. No, it's not, and we'll get to that in a second. Another thing, think about this. Let me just back up. If this is the ripoff of Suburban Fights, if you don't know what Suburban Fights is or are, I don't know the proper grammar there. Suburban Fights is a show here in Los Angeles and actually all up the West Coast where they fight in bars and things. There's no ring, there's no ropes, there's none of that stuff. They fight in a suburban environment, a bar, a pool hall, whatever. So they fight, and it's pretty realistic. You know, it's pretty grimy, pretty fight-based, not necessarily wrestling-based. Yeah, there's some wrestling moves, but it looks more like a shoot. All right. If you look at whatever this guy's talking about, Chikara, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But if we're going to talk about shoot fights, we're going to talk about no rope matches in a ring or on a platform. You got to talk about Josh Barnett's freaking Bloodsport. When I met up with Karrion Kross, formerly Killer Kross, at Maverick Wrestling, I don't know, a year ago, we were talking about his next show, which was Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. I had no idea what it is, but it was a no rope, kind of a ring on a platform where guys had a more realistic shoot fighting with punches and kicks and knees and grappling. It was a martial arts or MMA style wrestling show. And of course, Karrion Kross has a background in martial arts, so this was right up his alley. And it was a good show. I watched some of the clips online and it was pretty damn entertaining. So wait a second. If Raw Underground is a ripoff of Chikara, which is a ripoff of Suburban Fights, which is a ripoff of Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which, by the way, is a ripoff of freaking Bloodsport. If you remember Bloodsport with Frank Dukes versus Chong Li, guess what? It's a no-rope match with people cheering and going crazy over martial arts and wrestling moves in a no-rope match. I mean, come on, dude. Ever since I was a kid, when I was 13 years old doing Taekwondo, they talked about underground fights if you wanted to get and maybe make a little money on the side. They talked about cage fighting before the UFC was ever a thing. Before any of these things became popular or mainstream, there were always fights. People were always going to pay to see two guys beat the crap out of each other. There is nothing new under the sun, and this is not new. So Chikara, Suburban Fights, Barnett, whomever the hell, this is a fight. It happens to be a fight on a wrestling show, and maybe that's been done before, but guess what? It'll be done again until the end of time because it works. It works because people like fights, and if you can look like you know how to fight, if you can convince me that it's a shoot or even blur those lines and get it close to a shoot, you're going to get my interest. interest and you're probably gonna get my money. But before you get my money, Shane McMahon, you gotta explain to me exactly what this is, if wins and losses matter, how you win and lose, and what the hell's gonna happen next. Because this was a cool segment, but I need more. As a matter of fact, and congratulations, Shane McMahon and WWE, I'm gonna be watching next week. Hell no, I'm not sitting through 3 hours, but I will fast forward to all the Raw Underground part so I can see what the hell is happening, because this has me interested. Does it have you interested? That's the question. How do you feel about Raw Underground? Cool? Is it good or bad? Is it indifferent? Do you want to see some of the women fight in Raw Underground? That would be cool to see some women thrown down in Raw Underground. That would be a hell of a way to bring back Ronda Rousey. Oh man, that would be nuts. But maybe people settle their grudges in the Underground. That would be even better. No rules, no ring. We just throw down. That would be kind of cool too. So let me know what you think in the comments. Hit me up on social media. You know you can always follow me at MakeMeAFan316. That's the show. You can follow the Jag personally at aka the Jag. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you never miss an episode. But hey, people kept talking to me about it. I figured I'd say something about it. Now I want to know what you think. Raw Underground, thumbs up or thumbs down. Let me know, and I will see you next time. Take care.